Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another comic book haul. This makes comic book haul number 10. Been away for a couple of months, but I've managed to get some pretty cool books. And one major key that I'm very excited to have in my collection and very excited to show with you. So let me just get started. I'm going to try to cut the rambling down to, just a minimum for this video. Not completely cut it out, but just a little bit. Um, Starting off, I would like to give a shout out to AG Surfer for his tag video where he talks about how he stores some of his comics using top loaders and my lights and so forth. If you haven't checked him out, I would definitely check him out. He makes good videos and I really liked that last video, so just check out the video. Also, before I get started, I know a lot as Lightning and Hero Hunter. They made recent videos. They're tagged videos to their top 50 books. I did something similar with my top 25, but I might do another video having the extra 25 had I done a 50 video. So I might come out with a video like that sometime soon. The other 25 books that I would have included in a video had I done a 50. So keep your eyes peeled out for that one. Without further ado, let's start my haul. Harbinger number 10. I believe this is the first appearance of Hardcore. The first few books I'm going to show you are some Valiant pickups. Last month I showed not last month, 2 months ago, I showed the first appearance of Bloodshot. Apparently Valiant books have been gaining some steam. They haven't been really gaining some steam since the 90s, but now they're starting to pick up again because I believe they're going to be coming out with movies. So I picked up quite a few Valiant books, and for those of you out there that are looking to get some new books, I would hunt these down because you could still get some of these Valiants for relatively cheap. So we got Harbinger number 10, first appearance of Hardcore. Yep. Moving along. Archer and Armstrong number 0. It's the first appearance of Archer and Armstrong, another book that I've noticed is, on the rise in price. It's not going crazy yet, but I'm starting to see more of these on the comic walls at some of the shops that I frequent. So you might want to pick this up if you can, while you still can, before it starts getting to a ridiculous price. Got this for like 25 cents, Ninjak number 1. Scoot this over. This is Bloodshot number 6. This is the first appearance of Colin King. And this is Bloodshot number 7. The first appearance of Colin King as Ninjak. So I think Ninjak is definitely one of the major characters in the Valiant universe. So if you could get your hands on his first appearance and Bloodshot. Bloodshot's a big one. So if you could get your hands on those two first appearances, if you don't have them already, try to get them because, like I said a few moments ago, they're still relatively cheap and just might be worth picking up. As I go on, I was never really a Valiant fan growing up. I remember some of the books, but coming out, reading the Wizard magazine, but I don't know. I just never really got into them as I did Marvel. But they're not so bad. They're not so bad. They're pretty cool actually. But back when I first started collecting, wasn't the biggest fan of them. Exo Manowar number 1. This is the first appearance of Exo Manowar. Now I don't know too much about this character. I think Oh, okay. Now, for a moment, I was getting him confused with another Valiant character called Magnus. Magnus, Robot Fighter, and Solar, Man of the Atom. They were characters that made their first appearances in the 60s. And I believe Valiant, I don't remember, I don't know exactly. Maybe you could leave in the comment box for those that know. I don't know the name of I think it was maybe Dell was the publisher that put them out, I think, or Key, or something like that. Please correct me. My history on those characters. I'm just starting to get into these characters as I just said, but they were originally from another publisher, and I think obviously Valiant in the early '90s acquired them and put them under their brand. But yeah, I almost got Exo confused with Magnus. So Exo Manowar #1, first appearance of Exo Manowar. Exo Manowar #4. It's the first appearance of a character by the name of Jack Boniface. And this one right here, Shadow Man #1, is the first appearance of Jack Boniface as Shadow Man. So I've been trying to clean up on Valiant. And I'm trying to get as many of the characters as I can. You know, except for, like I said earlier, Magnus and Solar. I think they're kind of rare, actually, those two books, the first appearances. And they're a little more than I want to spend on them, to be quite frank. But these characters, like Shadow Man and Ninjak, they're still very, Archer and Armstrong, they're still very affordable and worth picking up. Okay, my last Valiant book for this haul. Yes, it's a completely black cover. It's Solar Man of the Atom, #10, and it's the first appearance of a character named Eternal Warrior. So I saw this in Comic Bin. I bought this, and I believe I got it relatively cheap, like maybe $5 or something like that. So Eternal Warrior is another one of Valiant's, I think, main characters. I don't know if he has his own series now, but I know Bloodshot made his first appearance in Eternal Warrior #4, so it's definitely one of the major Valiant characters. And yeah, if you could pick this book up, like I said, I think I got it for $5. I got it earlier, you know, I think early last month or something like that, when I was starting to build my comic haul. So I don't really remember, but I believe it was like about $5. And I still think you can get this book relatively cheap. So pretty cool. Okay, that is it when it comes to my Valiant pickups for this month. Now let's start to scatter around between Marvel and DC. Okay, Crisis on the Infinite Earths, #7. This is it's the iconic cover, The Death of Supergirl. You know, I've always wanted this book, but most of the times when I went to my comic shops or wherever I was looking, it was sold in, you know, with all the Crisis on the Infinite Earths. And believe me, I'd like to get them all, but I guess I just wasn't ready to pay whatever price it was to get them all. I always wanted this one, and I think #8. I think that's The Death of the Flash. But yeah, I finally was able to pick this one up. Wasn't sold as part of a set. I got it for $3. Not bad, not bad. It's in pretty good shape too. I think it's got a little crease over here, maybe a little ding or two on the spine. But I think I gave it a 7.5. So hey, $3, 7.5. Crisis on Infinite Earths, #7. Can't go wrong. Another book I wanted for a while, The Amazing Spider-Man 162. This is the first appearance of Jigsaw. Jigsaw was the main villain of Punisher Warzone, the movie that came out. He's mainly a Punisher villain, and there you see Punisher on the cover. But yeah, I don't know. I like that movie, Punisher Warzone. I think a lot of comic fans, really didn't like it, but I like the action and how it didn't take itself too seriously. But I do believe Punisher should get, you know, a better movie or whatever. But I heard rumors that I haven't watched it, but the Daredevil TV show, I heard he was one of the he was believed to be one of the characters on one of the episodes. I don't know what went on or whatever. I do have to check out the show. everyone I've talked to, they said, "Oh, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. It's really good. They've done Daredevil some justice." So I'll check it out. But yeah, Jigsaw first appearance, Amazing Spider-Man 162. I got this relatively cheap at my local comic store, So it was definitely a good pickup. Now we start hitting some of the bigger books. Boom. I almost said New Mutants. It's not the New Mutants. It's Marvel Graphic Novel number 4 and Marvel Graphic Novel number 5. I put them in the same bag because I don't have 2 magazine size bags. Here you see these on both of the books. I just tagged it. I put a sticker over the bag to, his first appearance of Sunspot, Cannonball, Wolfsbane, Very Fine Plus 8.5, until I get a better magazine bag for both of these. A little bit of a story with this one. One of the comic book stores I go to, actually my favorite one, guy usually is very good with deals, really nice guy. Anyway, he just bought this huge Marvel collection. And I said, "Oh, well, what's in this collection?" He says, "Oh, everything. I already sold out all the Amazing Spider-Mans." I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." But anyway, he's been slowly going through it and slowly putting some books on the walls and in the long boxes and so forth. So anyway, I walked in and I saw this. And I saw this and this. And yes, they're both first prints. Marvel Graphic Novel 4 and 5, both first prints, so I made sure I checked that out. And he didn't have a bag on them or anything, so he didn't have a price on them. So I went up to him and I said, "Well, how much?" He said, cover price. So I wound up paying $4.95 for Marvel Graphic Novel number 4 and $5.95 for Marvel Graphic Novel number 5. So I thought that was pretty sweet. But here's the kicker. A week later, they announced the New Mutants movie, so I think I was at the right place at the right time to get these, because 2 days ago, I went back to my comic book store to pick up some, I think I went to pick up Batman 41, which is not in this video. I know sometimes I show new books I get that came out that month or that week or whatever. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm not going to be showing it this video. But anyway, I went to go pick up Batman 41, and he had another copy of this. And he was actually about to put it up on the wall. I didn't stick around to see how much it was or whatever, but now that the New Mutants movie has been announced, I assume this book is going to be gaining some steam. I don't know how much it really goes for, though. I've always wanted it. But I think sometimes I've seen it for $30 or $40, and I was like, I don't really want to spend the money on it now. But hey, this one's a Very Fine Plus 8.5, and this, well, from my estimation, it could be, or it could be a little less or a little more. I don't know, but that's what I think it is. And this one's a Very Fine, so not bad. What, $10 I paid? A little under $10. Moving right along. Detective Comics 373. This is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, in the comments section. This is the first time Mr. Freeze is called Mr. Freeze. Previously, he was called Mr. Zero. And from what I've heard, or from what I've read, or whatever, or both, when the 60s TV show came out, they didn't want to call him Mr. Zero. They just called him Mr. Freeze. And this book came out, I believe, during the TV show or just after the TV show, and they used the character and they retconned him to Mr. Freeze. Cool book. Okay. Megaton number 3. Now, when I first bought this book, and I bought it a couple weeks ago, I originally thought this was the first appearance of the Savage Dragon. It is not. It is the first time he is called the Savage Dragon. I believe he made 2 or 3 previous appearances. I think they might have been cameos. I think one was in Megaton number 2. And the other one was a few years before this. Eric Larson made his own comic. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but it was I think something with fantasy #1. I don't, so I was a little bummed out when I found out that this wasn't the first appearance. I thought it was. I honestly thought it was, and actually no, it's the first time he is the Savage Dragon. It might be his full appearance for all I know, but it's still a good book to have. It's still a good book to have, but I think I overpaid. I overpaid a little bit for it. So, it's never cool to overpay for books, but I think we all do it, You watch some of the community's videos. We all talk about sometimes what we pay for books, and we admit that we overpay. It's bound to happen. But I don't mind, I guess, so much. It's just I really was kind of bummed because I really thought it was his first appearance. But whatever. If I known that this wasn't his first appearance, I probably, honestly, would not have bought it. But it's in my collection now, so maybe it will grow on me, or maybe it won't. All right, we're cutting down to it. First print Ultimate Spider-Man #1. Got this at the same comic book store that I got the Marvel graphic novel #4 and 5, and I got a really good price for a 9.0. Yeah, I went to a comic convention in Atlantic City a few weeks ago, and I thought that convention just sucked. There were only like 3 major tables to buy comics. And you know something? I don't think I'm going to be going to another Comic-Con for a while because I was so turned off by this comic convention. Not only because of the lack of dealers, because everything was just so overpriced. I went to the New York Comic-Con last October, and I had a really good time. And I would, you would imagine you go to a major con like that, which I think is the second biggest in the country, next to San Diego Comic-Con. But I didn't notice at the New York Comic-Con books were really overpriced. Some of them were a little overpriced. Some of them were pretty much what you would pay if you bought these books on eBay. But the Atlantic City Comic-Con, everything was so overpriced. But let me get to the point. I know I digressed a bit, or a lot. But I saw this. I was like, yeah, one day I'm going to see if I get Ultimate Spider-Man #1. It's the first in the Ultimate series and so forth. And I've seen a lot of these. I've seen them all over. And last time I saw one at the Atlantic City Comic-Con. And dealers wanted like over $100, $150. And I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, really? For Ultimate Spider-Man #1? Some were very fine or very fine near mint. I didn't realize it was worth that much. So when I got to my comic shop, and this was part of the collection that he is slowly putting in bins and on the wall, he let me get first look at a short box that he was going to put out, and this was in it, and it was $25. Now, I don't think I overpaid for it. I think that's pretty good to get a 9.0, or at least in my estimation, a 9.0 Ultimate Spider-Man #1. So, yeah, I think that was a pretty good deal. Last 3 books. Once again, we go back to that same comic book shop. Amazing Adventures #11. Now, I haven't really been showcasing X-Men books because, to be quite honest, I think I pretty much got most of the X-Men books that I want, key books and so forth. I mean, there are others that I need to fill some gaps or to get just a couple minor first appearances. But, those of you that saw my top 25, my #1 book is X-Men #1. So I already have the first appearance of the Beast, but I didn't have the first appearance of Beast when he first got the fur. So, once again, the guy was going through the collection that he just bought, and he put this on the wall. This is, I think, a 7.5. Yeah, 7.5. It's got a little color break over here in the corner. There you go. But yeah, it's still really great shape. It's got a couple dings on the spine, but I don't think it has any color breaks. It's really good, and I paid a really good price for it. And another addition to some of the keys that I needed, the few remaining keys I needed to fill my X-Men collection. Okay, another big book that I've been trying to get since last year, but I had to, cool it down a bit last year, and I said I'm going to wait until this year to get this book, Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, #1, the first appearance of Luke Cage. I believe this is an 8.0, another one that has like a black background, but beautiful. I think it only, once again, right here, it has this a little bit of a color break, just like with the Amazing Adventures. But other than that, it's in very fine shape. Wanted to get this book, like I said, since last year. I'm trying to fill out a few more Marvel books, Bronze Age books, first appearances, and this was one of the ones on top of the list. I think Luke Cage is supposed to get his own Netflix TV show. He's going to get like the Daredevil treatment, hopefully. Be a good show. But I think Luke Cage is supposed to get his TV series after Iron Fist. So those of you out there trying to get a few more, fill in some of those Marvel Bronze Age 70s gaps. If you don't have Luke Cage or Iron Fist's first appearance, you might want to look into to get them, because this book, I think, is starting to really heat up on eBay, and some of the prices are getting a little ridiculous. And the very last book, but certainly not the least, a book that I'm so happy to have added to my collection, Batman 121. It's a 4.5, and that's okay for me, because this book is really expensive wherever you look for it. You're trying to get a 5 or a 6 or higher, you're going to be paying big bucks. I am very happy with having a 4.5 CGC, no less. It's got a few issues. Got a little marker over here, but the spine's in really great shape. It's got a slight tear up here, so that brings the grade down, so forth. But never mind all that stuff. It's the first appearance of Mr. Freeze. I am so happy. I have not been able to stop looking at this book. I just didn't think I'd be able to get this book when I got it, which is recently. A lot of us, we have, those of us that collect Batman, which I think a lot of us do, we have a lot of those Silver Age appearances. We have a lot of those Modern Age appearances. Yes, we have the Batman 171, Silver Age appearance of the Riddler. We have the Batman 189, which is the first Silver Age of the Scarecrow. But truth be told, those are not the first appearances of those characters. They are the first appearance of the Silver Age, when they appeared in the Silver Age, but they are not the genuine first appearances of those characters. And a lot of us cannot afford, I think at least, to get them, because a lot of those books are harder to get, and they're expensive. And a lot of us, I'm married, I have a little one on the way. I know a lot of other people out there in the community are married, and they have responsibilities. You got to put those things first before your hobbies, and so that sometimes makes a lot of books that we would like to have hard to get. But this book here, it's the first appearance of Mr. Freeze, as I've said over and over again, and you all know that because it's a very iconic cover. It just, for me, it makes it seem legitimate. It brings some legitimacy to my collection, my Batman collection. I mean, I have some of those Silver Age appearances like the Riddler and Scarecrow, and the Modern Age appearances like Two-Face and Hugo Strange. But this is, a genuine, Batman villain. Those are all genuine Batman villains too, but like I said, it's not truly their first appearance. This is like one of those Batman villains that, was showcased on the 60s series. And that's how I found out who the Batman villains were. I first saw the Michael Keaton Batman. That was my first experience with Batman. I didn't know who he fought, who his villains were. until I saw that movie, and I said, oh, okay, I guess this Joker is the main villain of Batman. And then right after that, when I was growing up, Channel 11, they started doing reruns of the 60s series, which was obviously very different than the 89 movie, but that's when you started seeing all the other villains, like the Penguin and the Riddler and Mr. Freeze. So that's how I was really introduced to Batman villains. I didn't read the comic. I didn't really know anything about them. The very first comics that I ever read, the very first book that I ever read was Tales from the Crypt. And they were at the time when they were doing those reprints. They were doing reprints all the time, but sometimes different publishing houses were doing different reprints. Those were the very first comics that I ever read. I've liked horror, and I liked Tales from the Crypt, and Tales from the Crypt just was on HBO at the time. So that's what sparked my interest in comics. So I didn't really know too much about Batman or anybody else. But getting back to what I was saying, being that the TV series, even though I didn't really like the 60s TV series, that's what introduced me to the Batman villains. That's when I started saying, okay, when I think of Batman, he fights the Penguin, he fights the Joker, he fights the Riddler, he fights Mr. Freeze. Those are the characters. So when I was finally able to get the first appearance of Mr. Freeze, it brought a sense of legitimacy to my Batman collection. I mean, yeah, characters like Poison Ivy, who's a genuine Batman villain that a lot of us have, I've noticed. I don't have it, but I've seen a lot of videos where people have the first appearance of Poison Ivy. But for me, this is a big thing, and I still look at it and I'm so happy with it. I just want to display it and keep it out of the CGC box I have it standing up on, which I almost knocked the comic down. And, every time I look at it, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I actually have this book. It's just one of those moments for me. It's sort of like the X-Men #1. Yeah, I'm happy I have the first appearance of Luke Cage. Yeah, I'm happy that I have so many other books. But when I got X-Men #1, I was like, wow, that was my grail book. I know I can never get Amazing Fantasy 15. I know I can never get Fantastic Four #1. Those other really, really important books. But for me, I was always an X-Men fan, and I got X-Men #1. That was a grail book. Well, for this right here, it's almost like the same feeling, to have one of those old-time Batman villains, their true first appearance. This is not the Silver Age appearance of Mr. Freeze or the modern age appearance of Mr. Freeze. This is the first appearance of Mr. Freeze. End of story. And having watched Batman, the animated series, and Mr. Freeze was on some of the best episodes. If some may argue, he was on the best episode, Heart of Ice, which really turned that character around from, I think when he first showed up in this. I've never read this. I have never had a chance to read the reprint of it. I want to get that. But from my understanding, he was like a joke villain. So I think a lot of the Batman villains were joke villains for many, many years until Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil took over in the 70s and turned it right around and made Batman what he was originally supposed to be when he first showed up in 39, 40. Dark character, creepy, and the kind that would actually, scare you instead of fighting these joke villains. But I digress. I babbled on for way too long. I'm just very happy to have it. I'm just staring at it, almost in awe right now. But thank you once again for watching my video. Once again, a shout out to AG Surfer. Check out his videos. He's really good. I like watching his videos, and I believe he is part of the community. So check him out. I also like to give a shout out to Lightning and Hero Hunter for making some really good top 50 videos. You guys have awesome comics. You really do. A lot of you out there, I've watched your videos, you have awesome books. And hey, every time you put them on, whether it's a top 50 video or a haul video, I love watching them every time. Well, that's all for Comic Book Haul number 10. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I babbled on way too long. But Comic Book Haul number 11 should be out in August. And like I said earlier at the top of the video, I might just do another 25 key books. It's not going to be numbered like, oh, this is the 26th best book I have and 27th best book. It's just going to be a bunch of other key books that I would have put in a top 50 video had I done a top 50 video. Just to, get some books out there that maybe most of them have not been in a haul, to give them some airtime, to share them with the community, to show what I have. Well, thanks again for watching, and I'll be watching your videos, and take care.